Okay, this morning I'm reading about Massachusetts Supreme Court hands down ruling, invalidates post foreclosure assignments and assignments in blank. Do you know what that means? Do you have any idea what this stuff means? It's amazing what's happening. The Massachusetts Supreme Court has issued its highly anticipated opinion in the case of U.S. Bank National Association versus Ibanez and the related case of the Wells Fargo Bank versus LaRace, bringing with it more bad news from the lending industry. The unanimous opinion, authored by Justice Ralph Gantz, upholds the prior decision in Massachusetts Land Court that foreclosure sales conducted as to properties inhabited by borrowers Antonio Ibanez and Mark Tammy LaRace makes were invalid because the trustees attempting to foreclose were not the holders of the mortgage. At the same time, they initiated foreclosure proceedings for these people. The decision confirms what many legal commentators had feared, that the common industry practice of assigning a mortgage in blank, meaning without specifying to whom the mortgage would be assigned until after the fact, does not constitute a proper assignment. The Supreme Court further held that without proof of proper assignment to the property attempting to foreclose prior to the initiation of foreclosure proceedings, and proof that the party from whom the mortgage was assigned was a holder of the mortgage at the time of such assignment, that the trustees could not rely on assignments after the fact to cure this deficiency. The majority opinion was careful to distinguish between proper assignment in advance of foreclosure and proper recording of that assignment, holding that the latter could be effectuated after the fact. The court also found that being the holder of the promissory note was not enough to foreclose. You guys hear that, people? It's amazing. If that entity did not also hold the mortgage. Wells Fargo and U.S. Bank, who are acting as the trustees for the securitizations purporting to hold the mortgages at issue, each argued that aside from having been assigned the mortgages via assignments in blank, they have been assigned the mortgages under their respective pooling and servicing agreements. The court rejected both arguments. First, the court found that we have long held that a conveyance of real property, such as a mortgage, that does not name the assignee, conveys nothing and is void. We do not regard an assignment of land in blank as giving legal title in land to the bearer of the assignment. The court went on to find that pool-wide assignments of all right, title, and interest in the mortgages contained in the trust agreements were also ineffective because the trustees did not provide any proof that the loans at issue were included in any schedules attached as exhibits to those agreements. You could throw in there proper tax filings and proper lien or UCC filings. Further, and this is important for investors considering possible legal action with respect to private label MBS, the court held that there was no evidence that the trusts, the entities that purportedly assigned the mortgages to Wells and U.S. Bank ever held the mortgages to be assigned. This suggests that many mortgages were never properly transferred into the securitizing trusts in the first place, meaning that investors may be holding unsecured debt instruments. Oh my goodness. Say it isn't so. As two of the four biggest trustees of mortgage-backed securitizations, Wells Fargo and U.S. Bank, experience increased liability as a result of this decision, as they had certain obligations to confirm that the mortgages were properly transferred into the trusts and that all relevant paperwork was in order. Both banks' stock prices took a hit immediately following the release of the Massachusetts order. Noticeably, the court also explicitly rejected the trustees' request that the ruling be held to be only prospective in application and not retroactive. The court noted that its opinion had not changed settled case law, but was simply enforcing well-established legal principles and requirements. They're not changing the law for you people. Thus, there was no need to restrict the opinion only to future foreclosure cases. There is no statute of limitations on fraud, by the way, and that's the one word they're not really using in this article. They're being very nice. No statute of limitations on fraud. And with the Freedom of Information Act, you can always go back and ask for a forensic audit on your account. Excuse me. So, let's see, where were we? Notably, the court also explicitly rejected the trustee's request that the ruling be held to be only prospective. Yes, we read that. Thus, there was no need to restrict. This opens the door for borrowers who were previously foreclosed upon on the basis of an assignment in blank to come back and challenge the foreclosure as invalid. Chaotic times, indeed, is how they ended that little paragraph. Even if foreclosing banks can cobble together, I love that word, cobble, to prove valid assignment prior to initiating proceedings going forward, the Ibanez decision means that private investors will take an even greater loss on their MBS investments that they have already, as the ruling will certainly lead to longer foreclosure timelines. However, legal costs coming out of securitization trusts and higher loss severities for delinquent loans. And the costs will be even greater if the banks have lost paperwork. Lost paperwork? Have you heard of a bank losing paperwork? It's really a travesty what we're hearing. This person is being very nice in this article. Losing the paperwork. I think they call it scanning it into digital form and shredding it. Let's see. Of course, the allocation of this loss could change if bondholders mobilize and take legal action. A class action suit against the arrangers of the securitizations in which they invested. Wow. Mobilize and take legal action? I think that means sue. Indeed, if the debt instruments they purchased were held out to be backed by collateral, i.e. mortgages, that the trust never really held. You bought a piece of paper. It's worth less than toilet paper. How does that feel, people? How does the injustice feel, for God's sakes? Investors will have some potent, P-O-T-E-N-T, legal arguments that they can return these instruments to Wall Street for a full refund. Wall Street is holding fraudulent, ineffective, invalid, invaluable, purported to be collateral backed paper? Maybe we should complain to the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, who's responsible and regulated for protecting the investor from predatory lending and trading? I don't know. Anyway, stay tuned for Man Beats Bank and creates mortgage banking MERS bomb. I know you'll be wanting to hear that one. Good day.